I think it's time to talk about the Black Ops 7 campaign because what was that? This is not only the worst COD campaign I think I've ever played, and there's an argument there because we've had a couple of bad ones, but this might be one of the worst video game campaigns I've ever played. And I'm not the only one. Look at the reception over on Twitter from accounts that aren't even COD accounts that are absolutely bashing how bad it is. You've got Culture Crave saying it is an online only campaign, it can't even be paused if you're in solo players don't get any AI teammates, and if you quit or idle for too long, it forces you to restart the entire mission. There's also this, and this, which has 98,000 likes by the way, this with 5 million views, it's not even Call of Duty anymore, and this. The reception to this game's campaign is bad. And we've had some pretty terrible campaigns over the years. Black Ops 3, Modern Warfare 3, a lot of people would say Vanguard, although personally I quite enjoyed that. But there's something way deeper here to do with Treyarch than this just being a one-off game and next year's COD will be way better. No, I think there's a lot more to break down here because look at the title of the game, Black Ops 7. We have had 7 Black Ops games, not including World at War, which is a part of the same universe, includes the same characters. However, the story wasn't your typical Black Ops, but the developers, Treyarch, have made 7 games within this same universe, and when I look back at all of them and what they entail, they all revolve around MK Ultra and hallucinations, the bending of the mind. And by the way, if you do want to play this horrible campaign for whatever reason, and you haven't already, I am giving away a copy on my competition page. You can just check out the Facebook link in the description if you don't have the game for yourself, or you can just have the cash alternative anyway. But as I was saying, the Black Ops 1 campaign was all to do with MK Ultra. The Black Ops 2 campaign was more to do with revenge and technology in the year 2025. Both of those games, to me at least, were really good. But then we had Black Ops 3, just in case you weren't aware, the original BO3 campaign, I'm going to say that word a lot, was actually scrapped. One of the writers of it, Jason Blundell, came out and said they had written its entire story, but ultimately it was too much, too confusing, it wasn't good enough, and so was scrapped, meant they had to write another one, giving them only a short amount of time to make it. And the product was what we got in Black Ops 3. Something which I don't know if it was better or worse than what was scrapped originally, but it was terrible. The BO3 campaign suffered from Treyarch attempting to do too much with the whole mind-bending, MK Ultra, crazy, out of this world madness. I don't even know how to describe this anymore, but the feeling I got is they were attempting to one-up themselves from what they did in the BO1 and 2 campaign, because they took place in the same universe and still revolved around the mind, hallucinations, C-links, and I think they tried too much to the point where the campaign was not difficult to understand, but there was no cohesion there. It was all over the place. And I can bet you they attempted to do the exact same thing in Black Ops 4, and we all know what happened with that game. The campaign was scrapped altogether and was replaced by Blackout. The next game we got from them was Black Ops Cold War, which again continues this same plot, revolving around MK Ultra and the CIA's illegal experimentation program involving brainwashing. The entire story was about them brainwashing a Russian into believing he was one of theirs to spill the beans. To be fair, considering Black Ops 1 had essentially done that, Treyarch made it feel original. It was a good campaign, but then Black Ops 6 came around, Cold War was 5 by the way, in which they tried to take it to even bigger levels. This time, the story was about an hallucinogen called the Cradle, and you trying to find the source and putting an end to it. And the result of this was a bunch of missions that involved zombies and levels that were mind-bending. Whilst I would say this was somewhat unique, yes, the core of the game's story stayed somewhat similar, and at times it was all over the place and unbelievable. At the end of the day, Call of Duty is supposed to be a military shooter. There has to be some realism there, right? BO6 didn't have that for me, but I still found the experience good enough. But you could tell by this point, every single Black Ops game after the first one was Treyarch attempting to find new ways they could experiment with brainwashing, hallucinations, and mind control. And with each game they released, they became even crazier and crazier as Treyarch were attempting to outdo themselves, using all of their original ideas in Black Ops 1 and then leaving themselves with nothing of real substance for the stories they were trying to tell after. And that's where Black Ops 7 comes in. By this point, we were on our 7th Black Ops game, following this same exact story of hallucinations, and I really think Treyarch suffered from them just reaching the end of the line, having done absolutely everything they could with this kind of story. These same characters, Mason, Woods makes an appearance. Playing this story, it's almost like Treyarch themselves didn't know what to do, throwing all different kinds of ideas at it, in the end giving us a product that has no real meaning or unity. The plot is so pointless, the result, the final mission, feels so lackluster because the plot is so trivial. And from the very beginning, by the way, there are going to be spoilers here, so click off the video now if you don't want to know. The moment you find out that Raul Menendez is not alive, which we knew anyway, but in-game our characters were confused, but the moment you find out he's just AI, a deepfake, the whole story becomes so inconsequential for me. Just giving you a 20-second breakdown because that's all it needs. The storyline is about the CEO of a tech company which used to be a criminal organization using the image of a dead terrorist, Raul Menendez, to scare the world into thinking he was going to attack. This tech company, the Guild, were going to use an hallucinogen called the Cradle, release it on the world's populations, and then force the world's governments to go to them for protection, purchasing their tech, their hardware, in return for them making millions. Yeah, there's nothing original about that, because that exact same story has been done millions of times. And in fact, half of it, the Cradle, the hallucinogen, was the main plot of the prior game story, Black Ops 6. When you look at the Black Ops 1 story, every single mission you were asking yourself, okay, what's going on here? Where is this going to go next? Who is this character? And then right at the end, there's the amazing reveal that Mason, the person you were playing as in the chair, was a subject of the Numbers program, and the people behind the glass were Hudson and Weaver, and you had to break the code. Every single mission in that game was leaving you questioning. It was genuinely mind-bending. There is none of that in Black Ops 7, because you know exactly what's going on. Besides from a few points here and there, who is the traitor? That is one of the questions asked in that game. You would think that's an important question, right? It's not. Razor being a traitor has pretty much zero impact on anything. I suppose one of the other questions you asked near to the beginning is, Raul Menendez real or not? You find out pretty quickly that, no, he's just a deepfake. Another one could be, what is this mystery hallucinogen? Well, again, you find out a couple of missions in, it's the Cradle. Fantastic. You had an inkling it was that anyway. And also when these, in quotation marks, big reveals happen in the story, there is no emotion behind it. There is no shock factor. There's no meaning. When I think of Call of Duty campaigns, they've always been over the top. When it's done right though, you can't argue that a Call of Duty campaign is good. It is 5 or 6 hours of your life which are at least going to keep you entertained. Unlike the Battlefield 6 campaign, you are not going to be bored playing them, but this is everything a COD campaign isn't. And that's just the storyline. I haven't touched on the gameplay or the mechanics. So let's do that, let's move on from the pathetic story. Firstly, the campaign is online only, so that means is this the first time ever? As far as I can remember anyway, I don't think this was done in Modern Warfare 3. You cannot pause the campaign, which is insane when you think about it. If you are inactive for too long, you'll be kicked from your own campaign, and if you've got a bad internet connection, which by the way, I don't, but I still experience this, you can lag as well. Think about it. A COD campaign where you can lag, be kicked for inactivity, and aren't able to pause. And the whole reason for that is because it's co-op. And whilst you can play solo, you can turn squad fill off, you can tell by its missions, it's entirely designed for co-op. It wasn't made to be played on your own. It's for 4 players. For example, in the cutscenes, you will see all 4 of the characters are there, 50-50, Harper, Samuels, and Mason. But in the gameplay, it's just you. So if you're playing on your own, you'll just be running around doing the mission, and then when you get to the point of the cutscene, magically, all 4 of the characters that are supposed to be there will appear. And half of the game's missions take place in Avalon, which is this big open world future Warzone map that Treyarch have decided to just reuse in the campaign for no apparent reason, because all of the missions that take place in Avalon may as well not exist. They are filler and are so incredibly boring that what I ended up doing for 90% of them was using my wingsuit to fly to the mission location, which would play the cutscene and then move on to the normal campaign missions. It's difficult to kind of describe if you haven't played it, but the way the Avalon missions are laid out is you are supposed to make your way to the mission marker by taking out the enemies in front of you, but because it's open world and because you have the wingsuit and the super jump, whatever its actual name is, you can just fly straight towards where the mission ends and play the cutscene. You really don't have to take out many enemies, meaning these Avalon campaign missions can take about 5 minutes to complete. Now, at the same time, what Treyarch probably intended was for you to explore this open world, but to me at least, the whole point I play campaigns is to find out the story. I do not want to go around this huge world and do side missions or collect things here and there. I do that in linear games if it doesn't take me off the beaten path for very long, but it is not something I want to do in the campaign because, well, what's the point? What am I getting from it? So the whole open world Avalon missions are not only pretty pointless, but boring, and you can tell they are 100% in the game for filler. And when half of the campaign is that, considering it took me, I think, 4 hours to complete, they are just in there to waste time and extend the campaign length, but they're also extremely boring. Maybe if you play the whole game in co-op, it's more fun. I can see that being the case, to be honest, and I've seen some funny moments over on Twitter, but that's not the reason why I personally play a campaign. I play it for the storyline, so I can get immersed in the world and the narrative. It's almost impossible for me to take it seriously in co-op. I have always enjoyed the way COD campaigns have been told from the very beginning when I played it back in Call of Duty 2, the big red one, which I think was 04, right? I've always liked how they were linear, quite fast-paced, and totally over the top. One of the things I hated about the Modern Warfare 3 campaign was them introducing the open world aspect, although it was nowhere near as much as this. It wasn't open world, but they gave you free choice in some missions, they weren't linear, and that campaign is considered by a lot of people to be one of the worst. So for them to one-up themselves in this one, I have to ask, why? And the only answer I can give is it was just laziness on the developer's part, because it doesn't improve the story. I don't think it improves the gameplay. It's purely here because this is a co-op campaign. It's not the kind of campaign I want to be playing. I don't think it works. Maybe, just maybe, if you actually don't play the COD campaigns, you might find this fun because it's co-op and you can play with your friends, but it's not for me, and it's something I don't ever want to play again. And when it comes to the actual proper linear missions, which pretty much all take place in a hallucination state, so in one of the missions you will go to this fractured world from BO2 where Menendez was hiding, and right at the end you will battle Menendez in a, well, boss fight. It is so low effort, so low quality. This looks like a mobile game and it feels it as well. I'm all for boss fights in games, by the way, even Call of Duty. Getting to the end of a mission and then having this epic fight is cool, but the ones in this game are just bad. And saying that, actually, even though I enjoy them, does this type of boss fight belong in Call of Duty? You could look at this and say, this is not Call of Duty anymore, because one of the other boss fights is against a corrupted plant version of Woods, a giant plant. What is going on here? And another one is against a giant harper. All of this is possible because it's an hallucination, it's not real, but it does make the campaign unserious and feel like a gimmick. Even then, if they were done better, because the battles are also poorly designed, on top of that, zombies or these corrupted humans which look like the undead appear way too much. They're in almost every mission, which was a problem in Black Ops 6 as well, but in BO7 they totally outdid themselves. Yeah, a COD campaign which has zombies, giant plants, giant humans which you are fighting, hallucinations of a character that we know is dead and poses no threat. This campaign is a mashup of everything, and one thing I can always give COD credit for are the graphics, and even in this game, some of the pre-rendered cutscenes look amazing, right? This looks really good, but then some of the, I don't know if these are in-game rendered, I doubt these are pre-rendered because they look totally different. The lighting's off, and this is a problem in zombies as well. Not in Black Ops 7 so far, but it was a big issue in Black Ops 6. Any of the in-game cutscenes that the developers did themselves look so bad because the lighting just isn't done right. In the campaign missions, and especially in Avalon, the big open world, the lighting in a lot of the open areas is just terrible. And so when you've got cutscenes that take place in these locations, everything from the surroundings to your character looks really low resolution, low quality. And regarding the cutscenes, a strange thing I noticed this time around is there are lots of scenes that happen in third person, whereas I feel in past Black Opses, they would have happened in first person. These third person views in cutscenes just remind me way too much of Warzone or multiplayer. They make you feel like your character is an operator instead of the main protagonist of a campaign. You know what? This entire thing feels like this is what Black Ops 4's scrapped campaign would have been. This is exactly what Treyarch wanted to make for that game, but because it was so bad, was scrapped and we got Blackout instead. It feels like in this game, they've decided take it back from those scrap piles and add it into Black Ops 7. This is what the scrap Black Ops 4 campaign would have been. I think it's clear we now know why there was no early access this time around and why there was no gameplay for it shown, because last year in Black Ops 6 there was early access, right? Unless I'm wrong and thinking of a different COD. But we definitely saw a lot more of the campaign through trailers than what we have this time around. It's clear now why, because even the developers knew this was bad. The worst ones we've ever had were Black Ops 3, just because it was so boring and so overly complicated, and Modern Warfare 3 for its open world aspect. Unlike Black Ops 3's campaign, there are actually a couple of fun moments here, but when I take everything into consideration, including the ending, the final mission, where you destroy the bioweapon and then detain Kagan, and that's it, endgame begins. You know, what happened to the grand finales? In Black Ops Cold War, we were left on that cliffhanger of Bell and Adler shooting at each other. In Modern Warfare 2, it was Shepard. In Modern Warfare 3, it was Makarov. There's no epic grand finale here. It's exactly what you would expect. It's not even a conclusion to a boring campaign. This whole thing is a gimmick. And at this point, I truly think the only solution is for the Black Ops franchise to end. If it always has to revolve around MKUltra and brainwashing, well, at this point, we've got 7 of these games. Treyarch have clearly exhausted themselves on this topic. They're not creative enough to keep doing it over and over again, but make it feel good and exciting. And so the only option I can see is to end the Black Ops franchise and for them to work on a different title. And I would say the same for Infinity Ward with Modern Warfare. The only ones that actually make different Call of Duty games are Sledgehammer, who made Advanced Warfare, World War II. Okay, Vanguard's that same time, but it's a different game. This needs to be the last Black Ops game from Treyarch, and for their own sake, they need to try something else. Begin a brand new universe, where they're not held back and restricted by the Black Ops title, having to stick to this same topic of brainwashing and hallucinating. They can do something else, because Black Ops 7's campaign is a gimmick. So yeah, there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you, for some reason, would like to get your hands on Black Ops 7 if you don't have it already. Like I said, you can just go over to my competition Facebook page. The link is in the description. Drop a like rating if you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you are subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.